Here is another section. So today we're talking about anchor element and the button element. Right. So that we have the anchor element and button element. Now talking about the anchor elements. So the anchor element, right, is written using the a tag. This is a tag. Yes, if we actually looked into something like this yesterday, or was it yesterday? Yesterday, right? So now the anchor element, before I go into writing the HTML code, I'll just talk about something about the anchor element and some attributes there so that you get to use them. Now the anchor element, like I said, is written in the A tag, which I've just written it right here, and it is used to create links. So it just lets users move from one page to another, open a website or download a file, or maybe jump to a section on the same page. And let's say you have a button, right? That button is quite different from anchor. That is why I had to arrange them in the same way and the same date, so you can know the difference, right? So now I have the href. This is a hypertext reference, right? And it's actually very required, like it's very required of you to add them when it comes to using your anchor element. And it actually specifies the destination of the link, and you can be able to enter another page, an external page, right? Now let's do something real quick. Let's say this is a link and I write to the next page. Here we see it as a link to the next page. This is it, right? We can able to click it. When we click it, it gives us that orange color and can be clickable. It's a clickable element. It's something we can do, right? There's something like tab index. That's an attribute, but I don't think we need it there. So let's create another HTML file and give it something like next page.html. Right, we could use it. Okay, so let's say random. Let's say random. In the random, right? Okay, it's complete here. Okay, you can just write something like let's say Jesus is good or something. Yeah, Jesus is good. Jesus is great and wonderful. Let's think of anything. Yeah. So I'm just making an example here. So now we can be able to link this our second HTML file to this one. We can use it here, right? And say next page dot html, so that I think we can actually remove this, but let's see. So if you click it, okay, you have to remove it. You have to remove this. So let's refresh the page. So if you click it, it goes to the external page. I made a mistake there, so I have supposed to remove the hash. You see what just happened? This is having an external page. That's why I say that you can be able to go to another page, open a website, download a file, maybe jump to a section of the same page, right? And this is actually an example. I created this, right? I created another HTML file and I linked it using the href in this our first HTML file. And you can see I click it. That is how I can continue doing it. That is how you see when someone clicks a link, right? A person can be able to go to another page. That page is called the external page or the documentation page. That's what it's called. So now we have other attributes too. We have the target. So now I have the target. Target is an attribute, right? Now it's an attribute when it comes to using the anchor element, and we have the two values of using the target attributes in HTML. We have the target self and the target blank. Target self. Now the target self is an attribute value whereby we can be able to open the link in the same tab, right? It opens the link in the same tab. Let's say we get rid of this. Let's get rid of this so it doesn't disrupt what we're doing. Okay, we are opening it in the same tab. That's the same place we have this white sheet or the blank sheet. Then we have the target blank, right? Now the target blank is actually used to open a new tab. So I don't know if maybe if we click the link here, it open a new page, right? So this is what it means. That's opened a new page. Like this is my Chrome browser. It opened a new page in my Chrome browser. So that is how it is. Now we have okay, let me show you another one. We have the title. I don't know if you know what a tooltip is. Now a tooltip is actually what we use when we hover over a link, right? Not just a link, even images. It's using images, it's using link, it's using buttons too, right? That is the title attributes. I think I have used this somewhere and I mistakenly used it in one of the videos, whether it's the first or the second. And I was saying that we'll talk about this, so we are using this now, right? And the title the title attributes actually gives you more extra information when you hover on it. So let's say to the next page, and let's say this is a black color text, for instance, right? So if I have it like this, if I hover on it, um if I hover on it, okay, goodness. So just mind you that if I hover on it, right, it's supposed to give me a tooltip. I will show you an image of what I mean under this video. Then we have the download, right? Let's say we have a link, that's like how not this link. Let's say a link to let's say HTTPS server. If you see some website, they have this HTTPS something like this something like that, a link to another page, in real websites. I'm just using an example. When you click it, you will see a download button. If you use something like the download attribute, right? Let's see if it works here. Okay, it won't work because we're using this. Let's remove this and see first. The thing is that for like this app, it doesn't do most of what, like this title. Now if we're using a desktop and we hover means taking your cursor to where the text is. So when you're at the text, it brings out a tooltip showing you this showing this text. This is a black color text. You can even go on it and you see how or what I'm talking about. So that's it about the anchor element. So looking at the button elements, so we have the button elements. button element. Now, the button element is actually a clickable element, though this anchor is for links, right? And this button is just for clicks. It doesn't take you to an external page or a documentation page or any page, right? This anchor which I've used here, right, is only meant for links. Then this button, it's used for, it's also a clickable element too, but it is used, let's say, only for submitting forms or user interaction, or let's say to perform an action. Right? Let's just say the button element can be used to perform an action. That's how I'll put it that way. So if we want to be able to use the button element, we make use of the button. This how it's written, button. Okay, as I use the button, it just gave me type. So this type now you're seeing here, it's an attribute having a value of submit, right? So let's say for instance now you fill the form, right? You see something like name, password, email, and the last part you see is a button like send or done or something. So they made use of the button, they didn't use the anchor. The anchor is for link, like I said. The button is there to perform actions. So you see something like they click. So they click the button, right? And when they click the button, it now takes them to a dashboard, right? Or to an external page. That is a real world client projects, all those kind of projects. So this will make use of the type submit here, so that we are going to submit it. We are telling the browser, the modern browser, that the user has submitted what the form. So now it has now, when the user submits the form, it will get added to the website's database, right? So the database like actually what holds most of your information, just like you have most of those social media platforms. That's why the database is there, and that is in back end. That is in back end. So you have the submit, right, to be able to submit the form. And now, okay, let's write something here. Let's say this is a button, right? Now you see this is nice. Okay, I want to make use of something. I want to make use of the line break. So this is the line break. I'll write the line break. So go to the next line. Let me just take it once more. This line break doesn't have a closing tag. Okay, so okay, let me. I think you're the first time you've seen this line break, right? The line break, that is BR, right, is actually used to take um your texts or your button or anything, any element to the next line, so they don't get cluttered together. So now it's perfect. This is a button. You can see the button. This is a button for taking action. This one is a link. You can see this. We have this, when we click it like this, we have this blue, this cyan color. Then it just has this underline. Right, this one is a button. This is how the button is. We can be able to style it. I think let's just style it. It looks odd, so let's style it. So style, we're using the inline styles. So you can see color to be white, right? Then background, change the background of the as this background you're seeing now, which is let's say in light gray color. We're going to change to green. Then we have let's say border radius. I think I've talked about border radius yesterday, which makes which will make the button now to be rounded. I use that in the nav be rounded. Now we have this, you can see when we touch on, when we click the button, we see something like this, so black stuff. So there's something we can use. I think we're going to use outline. We'll set it at none, right? Then border. Now outline is actually what appears at the back of the button, like when you click on the button, or maybe say an anchor link through. There's a blue line that shows there. Sometimes developers don't actually want it, so they can use outline none to be able to remove it. Then we have the border none. So when you click it, okay, see, I'm clicking it. I click this one. I click this one. See, it's no longer there again. So outline none and border none removes it. Now let's add some padding. Now the padding is the space inside of the button. The space inside of the button is the padding I'm going to add. So let's say a padding of let's say 30 up this big. 20 pixels is okay. Oh, that was even large. It's tremendous. Let's say 10. Okay, 10 is okay. So we have it as a button. Now let's say we have attributes in the button, right? We have like now we have this type submit. We have I think disabled, right? We have the disabled attribute. Now the disabled attribute makes the button unclickable. So when we click the button, it will not perform any action. If I click this button, it doesn't perform any action at all, right? That's what disabled is there for. And now we have the name, right? The name, this name, we have the name. Now the name is actually used for sending form data. It's actually used for sending form data. So let's say this is a button. Now let's say, like I was saying, you finish filling the form and the next thing you do is to submit, right? So when you click the submit, I don't know, at the top, let's say for instance you're using your phone or you're using a desktop, for instance. Now at the top, which is the toolbar, your toolbar, right? At your toolbar, you see something like let's say you created a Facebook account, or let me not use Facebook. Let's say you created a social media account or something different, right? You see something like okay, let's use Google. Let digress too much. Let's use Google. And the toolbar, you will see google.com/search this, then slash something. That slash, now you will see this is a button. This is a button. That's what the name attribute is actually used for. Alright. Okay, let's use it here. Let me see. Let me remove this click disabled so that we can be able to click it. And let's use our attributes which we used, and let's say something like a target blank. Okay, I think I can use the links. I've not actually used it yet. I want to just show you. Okay, I don't know. Let's just leave it like this first for now. Though it's not actually highly recommended that I use it there, but I'm just trying to show you as though it's an attribute used there. So now let's do a reference for this. Now the anchor, like I said, right, this is all for today. So the anchor, like I said, is used to create links, and this other one, the button element, is used to what, perform an action there. So this is all you need to know about the anchor element and the button. elements. Though there are some other what do they call it, attributes, but these ones yeah okay, right? And this line breaks too, which is the BR tags. Now I think this is all. So let's go back into using the anchor elements to create a navbar. Before I used a normal text, so let's use this one. And we talked about block level element and inline elements, right? Where one stays in the same line, the other one goes to the other line by stacking, right? So we use the header. The header sets a semantic tag or element, right? Then I use a div. In that div, let's say it is my logo icon, like I showed you the website which I created. And I say logo, yeah, logo icon, right? Then I make use of the nav. In my nav, I use the UL, which is the on that list. Then use the LR, which is for the list item. Then in my list item, what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to nest the anchor element, which I just talked about, in the list item element. So I have this. Then yeah, I'm going to say something like home, right? Home, um, yeah, be why is this like this? So home about, I'll just do three things there. And services. Okay. So we have it there. Perfect. Now before you notice that the last one was just text. It didn't have anything like this underline or this color showing, or maybe if I click it, which is clickable, right? Then I'll be able to have these colors here. Nope, it didn't show any of that. Then apart from the nav, which is that I have the so pure way, as I'm using this my class attributes, I'm actually going to use my style my CSS file to style them. So I have my menu. This is my menu icon, and this is my menu. For instance, with my menu icon here, I'm using text because we've not used the menu itself. So just an example. So alright, we have it like this. Now remember, I was talking about the universal selector. We have universal selector, we have the class selector, we have the ID selector. But these aren't the only selectors we have in CSS. We have the attribute selector, right? We have attribute selector. Now let's say an example of an attribute now, like we said, is title, right? If I use title here, or I use anything there, like title is an attribute. So if I want to use the title attribute selector, right, I'll use the square brackets. These are called square brackets. So title, then use, let me say a pseudo class like focus or anything. So let's remove that. And one more interesting part is that we can be able to uh, let's say this is I don't know, let's see if it works here. We can use content editable. It's also an attribute. Content editable true. Now the content editable true will be used to edit let's say you create a website, and in that website the user can be able to edit the content, the text. It can be used in any element in HTML. Let's see if it works here. Okay, fine, it works here. So if I hover or click it, if I click on it, right, this is logo icon. I can see something like let's say um Donald Trump is doing a good job, right? You see, I can able to edit it, but if I refresh it, you notice it has gone back to its normal state. And you know, let's so now when I click on it, it shows this what we say, this border, right? This is a border, and the border has rounded figures here. Like you see this upside and this downside. If you looking at this other side, it has rounded, that's the border regions. Now I can be able to remove it with um three let's say CSS properties. Now, since content editable is an attribute, sorry, so I'm going to make use of the attribute selector. Like I said, it's not the only selectors that we have. We have multiple selectors. We have group selector. We have type selector. We have so many of them. We have about 7, 8, or 9. But I do make use of 3. I don't use attribute selector like that. But I'm just going to show you here. So this is content editable, right? So content editable. So content editable focus, right? Now this focus is a pseudo class. If you have something like this is just a colon, right? If you have a colon, this is a pseudo class. But if you have um multiple colons, like double colons, right, this is a pseudo element. We have the before, right? We have before, which is used to add an element or something there at the beginning of the element. We have after, which is used to add something at the end of the element, right? We have selection, right? We have selection, which is used to change the color of that particular content, like a text, right? So if I select, for instance now, if I select this text, right, I can be able to change the color. Not me directly typing something, but like just doing something like this, then I can be able to change the color of the text. So let's just go. I'm using the focus, right? The focus is a pseudo this thing class. Sorry, the pseudo class. And yeah, I'm gonna change some things, modify some things. So I can use let's say the border none, which will remove the border. I can use outline none, or let's say border 0, so there won't be any border at all. Any border is there, it removes it. And I use the box shadow none. You'll be able to remove any shadow that's around it. So let's go back and refresh. You see, it's no longer there again. So you can be able to put anything. See, refresh the page, it's not there. So that's what it helps. So with that, we can be able to use this attribute selector and have this content table inside of it. Then use the focus. The focus there is when we click on it, that is when that border comes up. Now let's use another what we call it. Okay, actually, I'm going to make use of another pseudo class, right, for our links. So we have this. So let's get rid of this content editable true. We also have for false, right? That is false content editable true means that you want the user to be able to edit the content. Then the content editable false, that means you don't want the user to be able to edit the content. So when the user, if you're using content editable false, when the user clicks the content, it can't be editable, right? It's all uneditable. So now let's do our another. So we have a class of header nav, right? So let's get rid of this too as well. So we use the pseudo, sorry, we use the universal selector here, right? So we have a padding 0, we have a margin of 0, we have a border box, which is sorry the box sizing. That's a border box. Then the list style, like I said, I was talking about the list style. This style is used to remove the bullet points or the dots, right? Then we have something like I don't know. Let's use this scroll behavior. Scroll behavior smooth. This scroll behavior smooth is used to make the page or website to be smooth. So you actually use this when you're creating your own website. So you set it to be smooth when viewing or navigating through the website. It has a smooth scrolling. It's a property. So let's see how it is. Now, one other thing you will need to learn again is a new CSS property, which is called the text decoration. Now, this is a link, right? I use the anchor, and this, when we click it, we have this color. So it has an underline, right? So in order for us to remove the underline, we make use of the text decoration property. So that is text decoration, right? We'll set it to none so that you can be able to remove the line that is there. So we have it like this. If you want the line to be there, which is at the default state, then put an underline. That is, everything is having an underline, which is universal selector. I said this is L, which universal is all, like everything that's there. Then you have this strike through. It's like saying you go to an e-commerce website, right? You will see something like a strike through. Like if you want to buy an airpod, it's a strike through is there. Let's say like 5,000 naira, a strike through. Then you see another price which is 2,000 naira, like which is the actual fixed price now. So we can say strike through. It should be here. Or is it like this? Or maybe this text editor is not familiar with it. Strike. Not familiar with it, but it's strike through. So we are going to use the none. So now is it. So next thing we are going to use is the header nav. So that is the dot header nav. So you already know most of this already, so I'll just write the properties here. So now we have it like this. Now let's try to make our home, about and services to be horizontally lined. Okay, we add the class. So add the class of, let's say, nav item or nav link or anything. Let's say nav link, since it's no longer nav items because I use the AI, I'm using the link. So I'm going to say nav link. So nav link. So here's the dots. Nav link. I'm using the A. Alright. If I use something like this now, see, there's something called selector specificity, right? Selector specificity. So now we have this, right? So we have the nav link and the anchor. So there's something called selector specificity, right? And we have in the color in selector there we have the a div, we have an ID, and we have a class. So here a div, right, is a type selector. So in this part we have a is a type selector. We're not using something like dot a, or sometimes we just type it. So this is another selector, and this one is a type selector. Sorry, it's a class selector. I use the dot. So altogether like this is a group selector. So now we are able to make changes here. So let's say we have the display flex. Yeah, it looks normal. Let's do a padding. No, let's align the items basically first. Now you notice that the color here is okay. This is much of a padding. Let's do 4. Okay. Now you notice that the color here in the links are blue, right? So you can use to change the color to um I'll be using red so far. Let's say black. This is actually black. Okay, it looks all together. We don't know which one is it. So let's say dark green or something. Okay, perfect. Now we can also use what we call it, hashtags, not hashtags, like hash, right? Now we have that block which we have, like, so we can to use this hash 000, give it black, or 000, still same black. Now the red I've been using so far, which is like this, right? You can need to use hash FFFF 00 on this night 0FF, though F 00F, or was it 0F? Okay, this is so FF 000F is still red. You can only to use RGB, right? We have so many of them, so just for simplicity, let's just use our dark green like we had it. Then now, since this is an anchor and the link, right, we are going to use the hover okay, there's something that I've done which will make it better. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. I have my nav link and I use a display flex, which is too normal, right? Then I use align items center here, so that here I can use this. So I have a color of dark green. I have what else? A padding of 4 pixels. That's okay, better. So nothing has changed. It's just the same thing. So I'm actually using this one as a parent container, right? I'm using this one as a child container. Just like this is the parent container, this is a child. Inside is a child or the siblings container. The focus to the class. I can use the hover here. So I'll just write the hover. Um, so you see outcome for yourself. I can see now what the hover pseudo class does is that whenever a user, right, hovers on the link like this. Now I'm tapping mine because I'm using a phone. So if you hover on it, hover means when you take your mouse to the text or to the link text, right? That is when you can able to see that the colors will not change. This is why when we come to use the hover pseudo class, right? So let's use something different like red. Let's see. This one is better now. So I think you learned some new things. So this is all for today.